We've all seen it, right? That little notification that pops up promising that new updates will make your PC better, faster, and more secure. But what happens when that promise gets, well, a little twisted? For a whole lot of Windows 11 users this past summer, that routine update turned into a real headache, and in some cases, something much, much worse. And that brings us to the big question we're going to unpack here. Has clicking update on your Windows machine turned into a risky gamble? We're going to dive into a pretty persistent pattern of buggy updates, the chaos they've been causing, and the one major threat that has everyone really spooked. So, first things first, let's be clear, this wasn't about one single bad patch that slipped through the cracks. No, we're looking at a consistent pattern of problems that just kept hitting the Windows 11 24H2 update all summer long in 2025, creating this feeling that, you just couldn't trust it. And this whole thing just kept building, months after month. It really kicked off in June, with updates that were freezing taskbars and tanking performance. Then July rolled in, bringing even more installation failures. By the time August came around, users were already pretty wary. And that's when things really escalated. You can see it was just this steady drumbeat of trouble. Okay, so what were people actually dealing with on their PCs day to day? Let's start with the more common glitches. The kind of annoying bugs that just wreck your workflow and make you want to throw your mouse across the room. For a lot of folks, the trouble started right at the very beginning. The update would just fail. It would spit out one of these totally cryptic error codes, which is basically just the computer's polite way of saying, nope, not happening. And that left people stuck in this frustrating loop, trying to install it over and over. But hey, let's say you were one of the lucky ones who actually got the update to install. Well, that's when a whole new world of fun could start. People reported everything from a stuttering mouse to weird crackling audio and laptops that were suddenly running super hot. Gamers were pulling their hair out with frame rate drops, while other people found their USB keyboards and docks would just stop working. This wasn't minor stuff. This was fundamental, core experience-breaking stuff. And then, as if that wasn't enough, this really bizarre thing started happening: phantom errors. Imagine this. You're digging around in your system logs, and you see these scary-looking errors about your firewall or security certificates, but there's actually nothing wrong. The bug was the error message itself. How weird is that? So what did Microsoft have to say about these phantom errors? Their official line was basically, yeah, don't worry about it, you can safely ignore them. And while that might have been technically true, you can imagine seeing your computer spit out a bunch of firewall error messages would make just about anyone a little nervous about their system's health. This quote from a Reddit user just perfectly captures the whole vibe of the community at the time. It's that classic feeling, isn't it? You hit restart after an update, and you're just holding your breath, crossing your fingers, hoping nothing explodes. A little bit of humor, a whole lot of real anxiety. But all that stuff, the glitches, the weird errors, that was just the beginning. Now we get to the part of the story where things take a much darker turn. We're moving beyond frustrating bugs and into reports of updates that could potentially cause permanent damage and data loss. And this is the big one. This is the issue that really got everyone's attention. Reports started bubbling up, mostly from the community doing their own testing, that the August update could, under very specific conditions, actually cause hard drives and SSDs to completely fail. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of what was being reported. The trigger seemed to be any activity that involved writing a ton of data to the drive all at once. The perfect example is installing a huge game that's over 50 gigabytes. The symptom? Your drive would just vanish. It would completely disappear from the system. And it seemed to be affecting certain super-fast NVMe SSDs the most, but some regular hard drives were at risk too. The folks testing this came up with a pretty simple and pretty chilling scale. Not good level 1 meant your drive went offline, but a reboot might bring it back. A close call. But not good level 2? Well, that was the nightmare scenario. Your drive becomes a paperweight. It's permanently gone, and all your data, your photos, your work, everything potentially gone for good. And this wasn't just a theory. People started posting their test results. While some drives, like many from Samsung, seemed to be fine, other really popular models started showing up on the failure list. And that's when it really hits home, right? When you see the exact model of the drive that's sitting in your own PC on a list of failures, that's when a news story becomes a very personal oh no moment. Okay, so we've laid out all the problems, from the merely annoying to the absolutely catastrophic, which brings us to the most important question of all. What can you actually do to protect your system right now?
Look, the single best, most effective thing you can do right this second to avoid all this drama is to just hit the pause button on your updates. Seriously, taking back control of when your PC updates is the most powerful tool you have.
And the great news is it's incredibly easy to do. Just pop into your settings menu, head over to Windows Update, and look for the Pause Updates option. You can delay them for up to 5 weeks, which is usually plenty of time for Microsoft to sort out the bugs and for the community to give the all clear.
It really all boils down to one simple strategy. It's better to be proactive than reactive. Pausing an update is proactive. You stop the problem before it can ever start. Rolling back an update, on the other hand, is reactive. You're trying to clean up a mess that's already been made. And remember, you only have about 10 days to roll back, so being proactive is by far the safer bet. Now, before you do anything else, whether you're pausing, updating, or troubleshooting, please do this one thing first. Back up your important files. I don't care if it's to the cloud or an external drive. Having a recent backup is your ultimate safety net, no matter what happens.
But what if it's too late? What if you've already installed one of these updates and you're seeing problems? Okay, don't panic. There is a first aid step you can take. Windows has a troubleshooter built right in. Just follow these steps, let it run, and see what happens. It's not a magic wand, but it can often fix common issues, and it's the absolute best place to start.
And all of this leaves us with one final, bigger question. We rely on these automatic updates to keep our increasingly complex machines working and secure. But when that automatic process breaks down so spectacularly, it really makes you wonder who's ultimately in charge of our digital lives. Is it the company pushing the code, or is it on us, the users, to be more cautious and vigilant than ever? It's definitely something to think about.